So good morning and welcome to Green Tiger Sessions. And today we are joined by Hemp Engineering as well. And we are so lucky to have, very fortunate to have Honorable Sophia MOermond, the first woman ever elected as a cannabis representative in a parliamentary system. So I'd like to do an introduction first. I'm Kimi Del Prado from Green Tigers Journal and Hemp Engineering, and I'm also helping Ramon out in organizing Hemp Expos. So for our distinguished guest for today, we're very fortunate to have Honorable Sophia MOermond. She is an Australian politician and a member of the Legalise Cannabis Party Australia. She was elected into office this year to the Western Australian Legislative Council for the party in the Southwest region. And prior to entering politics, she was practicing naturopath and Chinese medicine practitioner based in Perth. She also worked as an educator in the corporate sector. She studied at Perth Academy of Natural Therapies, having initially trained as a registered nurse at the Anna Renovan School of Nursing in Amsterdam. She moved to the Western Australia with her parents in 1983 and has an active interest in health, the environment, women's rights, and animal welfare. And with us, joining us as well, we have Ramon Granados. So Ramon holds a civil engineering and environmental degree from Florida Institute of Technology in the USA in 1985, and formal hands-on career development in project management with over 30 years of experience, delivering EPCM, engineering procurement, construction, management, and commissioning projects, over 6 billion projects. So he has founded and co-founded Hemp Engineering, Biomass Engineering, and Green Tigers Journal. And also he has been organizing a lot of hemp events such as Hemp Home Expo, Hemp Textile Expo, Hemp US Home Expo, and we have upcoming Hemp Wellness Expo and other expos as well. So I now bring to the floor Mr. Ramon Granados. The floor is yours. And good morning again, Honorable Sophia MOermond and Ramon Granados.
Thank you, Kimi, for your intense introduction. It's overwhelming. Sophia, this is a great pleasure having you in our show. It's really hard for me to explain the emotions that I have within my heart. Primarily because your journey is very similar to a journey that we lived in Venezuela, where two political parties led, and basically they became the owners of democracy for over 60 years. Nobody really thought that a small party could ever break through, and after that, a big revolution started. That the results were wrongly, that's a different story. But we were able to break through. And what you have done, it is a star, shining star for the hope of millions, bringing the voice to cannabis interest, and moreover, bring light to the darkness. I have been listening the speeches that Mr. Brian Walker has been, asking our fellow representative in the parliament. And with all due respect, with the love that I have for this country, it was very embarrassing listening their answers.
Right. Okay. Well,
Sophia,
thank you for
how did you
having
end up
me on.
in all this?
Look, I know that I'm flattered by the lovely description that both of you have given me, and I'm quite honored to be here. I think it's very exciting that cannabis and hemp are being so normalized that two people can get elected to a parliament on that platform. And I hope it signals a massive change in the attitude that people have towards cannabis around the globe, because it's an amazing herb. It's an amazing plants to work with in regards of, you know, batteries and construction and all of those things. And it needs to be normalized. It absolutely does. I'm also aware that the fact that I am in Parliament is because of the activism of so many other people out there, including people like yourself, but also like people in Nimbin. You know, people have been campaigning for over 40 years to get cannabis legalized again. You know, and Dr. Brian Walker and myself are the culmination of that sort of activism. That's, you know, that's why we got voted in, not because of who we are, but because of people wanting to see change and because of the activism of so many before us.
And that is the common bond in so many people that suddenly has awakened that the impossible become possible.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And that is what the heart of at least this humble person tried to express.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things that calls more my attention is that you are in the medicinal or health environment. You know the effects that the cannabis has over the mind and the body. So it is a completely different perspective of a common politician, because you are coming from, you know,
I'm coming from a holistic medicine perspective. You know, I trained initially as an RN in the Netherlands, and you know, in chemo patients, if they were the right sort of demographic, the senior nurses would suggest that one of their friends go and buy them a joint at a coffee shop and come back, and you know, there was literally no medication that we had that would have the same effect for those people. You know, they would come back on the ward, they'd be happy, they'd be hungry, their nausea would be gone, and their pain would be much reduced. So that was my first sort of experience with the medicinal use of cannabis there. And then I went on to study naturopathy and then traditional Chinese medicine. You know, and as a herbalist, you can see the benefit of cannabis. The cannabis seeds, for instance, ground up, make an incredibly useful and very gentle laxative, and that was taken away from us as Chinese medicine practitioners. There's absolutely no high associated with that, except for, you know, having the satisfaction of having a good bowel motion. And then, you know, and when you look at the medicinal benefits of cannabis, they're huge. When we look at pharmaceutical drugs, we often look at one active only in there. When you look at herbal medicine and including cannabis, you find that there's a whole array of actives in there. It's not just CBD, it's not just THC.
Yes.
It's all the terpenes on top of that as well. And when you take a whole herb, you get all the synergistic effects associated with that too. So, and one of the reasons why the pharmaceutical industry finds it difficult to deal with herbal medicine is because you'd have to patent all of the actives, and that is almost impossible to do, and you can't simply patent a plant. Yes. So, you know, so that is part of the resistance. And then obviously it has a negative reputation where people, when you mention cannabis, you know, their mind jumps straight into some sort of, I don't know, shooting gallery in a dungy place in New York or something like that, with people dying over drug overdoses. And it's not like that. It's not like that at all.
Agree. And that brings us to this journey that you are now. You are in the In Spanish, we say, I don't know if that is properly translated into English, but you are barking in the cave of the wolf.
Yeah, there's some truth to that. Yep, absolutely. But it's changing, you know, it is changing. If you look at Parliament and you look at if you go to the web page of Parliament, you can look up the handset transcripts, and that records everything that's being said in that chamber. And you can look up specific terms like cannabis and marijuana, and you can see how often that has been mentioned in the upper house. And, you know, it's just us being there has increased the amount of times that cannabis is being mentioned, and hemp as well. And every time it gets mentioned, it normalizes it that little bit more. When I first got elected into the upper house, and I would introduce myself to people and say which party I was from, and say from Legalise Cannabis Party, and people would giggle a little bit, like a little bit uncomfortable and that, you know, and that stopped. We've been in there for 7 months, and that has stopped. You know, people aren't giggling anymore. They're starting to take us serious, and I think that is a very rapid change in a very short time. So I'm excited about that, and it shows that we have created a sense of credibility around cannabis and hemp on quite a large scale.
What I believe that time is relative in many aspects of the understanding of the solutions that we are currently looking for to solve so many issues in regards to homelessness, food, clothing, and else. With so much evidence, scientific and all kind of support documentation that the politicians need. 6 months perhaps might seem very successful in many ways, but the truth is that it seems very, very slow for the amount of knowledge that it is at the hand of everyone. Laws that are, the law is wrong to start with. And the aspects of the benefits that hemp can bring to the economy right now, in especially just Western Australia, then I think it's much easier to vote them out than educate them. It's much easier to get the party to become strong, very strong, convert that into a political capital and vote them out, because they are not fit for the world that is coming. This is clean technology. It is about using hemp as the epicenter of the new change for building homes, for everything. And we're not just focusing where we're supposed to go. While we're in the old agonizing way of capitalism that is destroying the planet, we will not resolve this. More conceptions to minings, more conceptions to oil, and while we're telling them, hey, you know, by the way, seed can fit to we can use hemp and do a phyto remediation in all the damage that you have done, and still they're thinking about it. No, it's easier to vote them out. My thinking. My thinking.
Look, I totally agree that, you know, for our survival and for our planet's survival, we need to adopt a whole range of new technologies, and I think the potential of hemp is huge there. Building materials, batteries, plastic, clothing, and You know, currently at the World Summit, our Prime Minister is still talking about gas and oil.
Oh, please.
And it's embarrassing. It really, really is. You know, we need to move on from that. And in regards to you know, when you're speaking about war, every time our society has gone from one form of energy to another form of energy, there has been a war in that crossover.
Yes, yes.
I'm hoping we can avoid that this time and go straight to being able to store solar energy or wind energy,
Yes.
you know, in batteries that makes it both transportable and not reliant on the sun shining a particular day. You know, the deep cycle batteries that provide really long output.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. Sophia, I heard you in one of your speeches, your vision about how we should evolve in trading marijuana in Perth, in Western Australia. You have the same vision as we were in Amsterdam. Tell us more about that.
How it was in Amsterdam? How things happened in Amsterdam?
Shops and, you know, yes.
Right. I'm not quite sure. See, in Amsterdam, it's in the Netherlands, it's decriminalized and not legalized, and they only recently started experimenting with taking control of the growing as well.
Mm-hmm.
So my vision here in Australia is that we control, the government controls or regulates, more likely regulates from the growing all the way to the consumer. Because what that would mean is that we can put in safeguarding for minors, and we can make sure that the product that comes out is a clean product. It's not mixed with anything else. It's one of the things we've had in Australia is where cannabis has been mixed with meth, and obviously methamphetamine is more addictive, and that creates, well, methamphetamine is addictive, cannabis is not. So that creates a much more loyal customer if you get someone addicted. So if we can get a product that is with different strains and people can decide exactly on what they want to buy, they understand. Now you do see this in Amsterdam where you're going to a coffee shop and there's a menu where it says, you know, if you want to sleep, you take this one, and it gives you CBD THC ratio. If you want to have a good laugh, then you take this one, that sort of thing. So
I had the pleasure of being in Amsterdam many times.
Yeah. Okay. And can I ask if you visited the coffee shops?
Of course I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am Sophia. After I decided to quit my corporate career, I traveled to Denver, Colorado. I learned about hemp over there, and I rejoined a good friend of mine who is still my business partner. We went to the university together in the United States, and we founded Hemp.
Okay.
Yes, and we're still together ever since. Actually, he's got a master's degree from MIT as well, so it's very bright. And also have also Carl Martel, who is one of the genius in this business, is also in our team. We're very blessed also with very, very good people around us. What I'm trying to say is that before that, and I open express that I was a cannabis user, wide open. I stepped out of the closet, and of course that brought me a lot of trouble with all kinds of everyone. But I feel that I had the responsibility to be honest with myself and everyone that I'm a marijuana user. I'm a Rastafarian. I don't have the dreadlocks for other reasons. I'm almost 60 years old. I use marijuana also for religious reasons, as my religion itself. But yet the fundamental problem here is that the law is wrong, and that is basically everything that surround our main problems of having developed or be able to establish an idea of getting coffee shops or the proper quality control that the government wants to decide to implement the business itself, and let people grow as well, because at the end of the day, this is free, this is for everybody. Look at Colombia. Colombia allows everybody 8 plants. Mexico, 20 plants per person in a family. They understood that this business is so big, it doesn't matter how much you grow in your house. You will never be able to overcome the needs of the world in regards to the medicine that we can come from. Of course, we need the corporates to grow and have a special role in this business. We want cannabis for everybody. But at the same time, they cannot be greedy enough with the same mentality that because you grow 10 plants in your house, they think they're not gonna be able to sell more. That is more greedy. That's not the understanding of the world that we want to build. That's my thinking.
Look, and I agree with you there too. You know, and people do ask, you know, why we want full legalization. And the reason is that I do want people to be able to grow plants in their backyard for medicinal or recreational purposes. You know, I was told that someone who has cancer and wants to make Rick Simpson oil, for instance, that they would need 8 plants per year in their garden. I have no problem with that. You know, people, it's a herb, it's a medicine. Having said that, I do agree that we need to be aware of, you know, like I said, safeguarding of children, in that we need, the way we envision that is that we have similar regulation around cannabis as we do with alcohol and tobacco. Now, alcohol and tobacco are a lot more harmful, okay, but you know, they're in WA, they're not allowed to really be on TV. You need to show ID if you want to buy these products. And I think that's a good thing. I have no problem with that.
Sophia, with all due respect, no? I believe that is somehow without falling in the purpose of our cause and mission, okay, we start dancing the same mentality of the prohibition, the people that support the prohibition. If they were so concerned about kids, they could be more concerned about sugar, which is actually the drug that is killing everybody. So that...
that too,
So that is thinking that we're going, no, I know it's not about you, I know that we want to have the safety regulation to keep kids away. That, yes, but that is much simpler, and it should not be obstacles to change the law. Because if they were really concerned, they could be doing the same thing for sugar, and everybody happy. And sugar is sold everywhere. It is in the hamburgers. It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
And children have many conditions that benefit from cannabis in as a medicine. You know, ADHD and epilepsy are probably 2 more famous conditions that we are seeing with children. But having worked as a herbalist, what I've also seen with children is an increase in anxiety and sleep problems. You know, and then these children at young ages are already being put onto antidepressants.
Yes.
And I think I can't get over that. Children should be happy. They should not be depressed.
Yes.
If there's the need for antidepressants at a young age, one, we need to analyze what is so wrong with our society that causes children to feel like that. And two, we need to look at things like that are known to cause trauma. And then you look at things like bullying, domestic violence, child sexual abuse, those sorts of things. But that's going slightly off track. Having said that, but coming back to behavioral issues and mental, emotional disorders, a lot of that, I feel that cannabis can be a healing herb there. And then going a step further with naturopathic thinking is that, you know, babies and children are now excreting incredibly large amounts of plastic.
Yes.
Which means that there's also taking it in. So when you look at children's toys, clothing, bedding, all of that, you know, plastics play a huge role in that, you know, chew on the toys and whatever, and clothing, possibly absorption through the skin, certainly absorption from plastic containers that food's been stored in. All of that, you know, if you have hemp clothing and hemp toys for kids, that would already make a huge difference, I think, in the amount of plastics that those children would be exposed to.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
You're an inspiration, Sophia. Quite honestly, I must confess that while I'm talking to you and listening to you, something awakened me to help the party to help her grow or something, you know, participate more. And I think we can do a good job here in Perth. I think we can do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, yeah, meetups, talking about it, you know, just talk about it. Every opportunity you get, talk about it, normalize it, take away the taboo out of cannabis and hemp, and talk about how amazing hemp is, and how certainly in WA we need to get away from old growth forest logging. We need to get away from the mining industry. We need to provide industries that don't require FIFO workers, because that seems to be detrimental to mental health of men and women too. We need sustainable industries that are economically empowering for the area, and that are beneficial, and that will provide an export industry here that will provide, economic security.
And sustainable forever.
That's right. And you can do that with hemp because it grows fast, and cannabis. It grows fast. You don't need a lot of land. It doesn't need as much water as a lot of the other crops need here. We don't need to clear any more land from it because we've already got lots of land cleared for other things. I mean, the advantages are amazing. Amazing.
We can build cities, touristic places. We can be like a Dubai of the...
Exactly. That's right. Yeah. You know, and maybe having coffee shops like there is in Amsterdam, you know, will allow for a tourist industry as well there.
And open a career for cannabis doctors, and we can create hospitals and a pharmaceutical industry that will support this. We can go crazy.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yes, yes.
We are at the beginning of this journey right now, where it's at the cusp, I feel, of where in WA, where we can, you know, if we get the opportunity to really support all of these things, it'll just explode. It'll be amazing.
Well,
it'll be really amazing.
Well, Sophia, we have all the conditions. Exactly like you said, there is a lot of capital. We are in the richest, one of the richest cities on earth.
Yeah.
the stars are aligning.
Exactly. The time is right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Destiny brought you to the right time, to the right place to lead, even if you don't want to. You're barking in the cave of the wolf. People such as Kimi, that is anger to ask you, what kind of advice you can tell, like so many girls like Kimi that are ready to follow you?
Right. Oh, gosh. Just do it. Just do it. Go out there. Every time you try something new, it is a little bit scary. Right? But every time you try something new and you overcome that scary bit, it becomes easier to overcome the scary bit the next time around. You get used to stepping out beyond your comfort zone. You get used to pushing your own boundaries. And the more women we have in politics or in any position that has a public profile, the more normal it becomes for us to be out there as well. And the more people will listen too, because our voice will become normalized. It'll be much less likely that we're going to be dismissed. Having said that, there's still sexism that we're dealing with, but it's okay.
I must ask you my last question from my side, Sophia, and might be the first time I ask this question to any, but like the times are changing. Also, I'm feeling the responsibility to talk about the last prisoner with cannabis in our country. I believe, if a person has no criminal record whatsoever or violent gun something and you're caught with a joint, your life cannot go to a drain because of that. That law have to be changed, and I don't know how exactly what we're doing to change it.
Yeah. I can't think of the right word right now, but I feel that all of those, sort of minor cannabis charges, they just need to be wiped off the record. There's no need for people to have a criminal record relating to the personal use of cannabis. It's different if you've got a growing facility that's illegal with several people with an AK-47 guarding that, because that is a large criminal undertaking. Having said that, as soon as cannabis is legalized, right, there's no need for any of those large illegal facilities that are guarded by armed men. It all becomes superfluous, and we can all just move on. Yeah.
It is like this drug and alcohol test, the one that is specifically related to cannabis. It is something that is not working. I don't even understand what is that doing in the budget, because the technology is proving that it's wrong. It brings to false results. And we as taxpayers are still paying for something that doesn't work. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. It really doesn't. Some of the research that came out of Victoria was that by simply legalizing cannabis and not putting the resources in regards to policing and courts and jail, they could build a new $350 million hospital every 4 years or something like that. It was the amount of money and resources that's wasted on policing cannabis while it's harmless and causes less issues than alcohol and tobacco. I know, it's stupid. It's just stupid. I have no other word for it. It lacks analysis. It's backward, wasteful. I really don't like waste.
Well, I can only talk as an engineer, because that's my background. But I can prove mathematically speaking, that those politicians that support prohibition is because they are getting a benefit out of this. There is not any other way to answer the contradiction of having the knowledge and the waste of money.
Yeah, well, that seems dangerous territory for me to go into. However, you know, I do know that funding for the police, you know, that part of that funding is calculated around cannabis prohibition, and that possibly some of the KPIs out there are also related to amount of arrests made, amount of people caught with cannabis. So there may be factors there that provide a benefit for, you know, for individual departments. But yeah, but it's, in the end, it's wasteful. It's so short-sighted, and it's really not going to do anything for us.
I think, Sophia, you went really, really deep enough. Jimmy, do you have any questions that you would like to address to our Honorable Sophia MOermond, representative of the Western Australian Parliament?
Okay. Well, I just want to say, because as we all know, the prohibition was 100% brought to humanity by men. And if you notice that in the United States, the medical cannabis movement, it was led by women, mostly mothers, who were advocating cannabis for their sick children. So I think the role of women is very important at this time, because as we see, cannabis is a female plant. It's nurturing, and it's kind of like, it's an epitome of a mother, female. So I think women's role in addressing or reversing cannabis prohibition is very important. So that's one. And another thing that I'd like to add is that people are persecuted over their choice of using a safer alternative to alcohol and tobacco. And I think this is where we draw the line, and this is where people get arrested. If they're not using it medicinally in a place where it's only allowed for medical use, then the person is automatically branded as a criminal because of their cannabis use. But coming from a natural well-being background, I think I truly believe that there is no such thing as recreational use, because no matter how we use it, we get medicinal benefit from it. Either it helps us relax, it helps our mood or appetite. So I think what Honorable Sophia MOermond said earlier is to normalize and humanize use. And I think with that, the more we tell people that it's no different than consuming. Actually, it's different because you're calmer and you don't get aggressive and all. So basically, my point is that it's really that debate between medical and recreational that puts a stop to all conversation, because as what's happening in the Philippines, we do get stuck in that conversation. But little did they know that there's more on cannabis. We have hemp, and the least we talk about recreational use, the more time we have to talk about other things, the benefit of the plant. And yeah, so it's really, I think the responsibility is up to us, the advocates. And congratulations again, ma'am, for infiltrating the government, as what someone said. You are at the enemy's territory, and I truly believe, and I look up to you because you said that you had it was like it's not like you had a dream back then that you'll be representing cannabis. It's just that one thing led to another, and then you found yourself there having a seat in the parliament. That's really
Sophia, in military terms, you are parachuter. You cross the enemy lines, you jump, and you just came in right. Thank you very much, Sophia. I got no words of gratitude of your time, your light, your
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm very honored.
Thank you for having me. And I love both of your enthusiasm. So with all of that, we can only change the world for the better, basically. Yeah.
We'll do that. We'll do that together. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What we are doing, so you keep posted, and you'll never know when we are at your service. Anything that you need us for, we have a online newspaper, and anything that you need.
Oh, what a lovely offer. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very much appreciated. I will hold you to that. Absolutely.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Have a wonderful Wednesday. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Ciao.
Bye.